Okay, I'm Nick Clarkson from Merge Games. I look after PR and marketing. In the publishing side, we got 6 of us, and over on development for Riot Civil Unrest, again, there's around 6 as well.
How was Riot Civil Unrest inspired, both graphically and content-wise?
Okay, well, it's the baby of Leonard Menchiari, and Leonard is an Italian-American who was involved in the NOTAV riots, which were based in northern Italy. There was a high-speed rail link being installed, and the locals weren't keen, so they protested, and it blew up into a bit of a flashpoint and a riot. Leonard was involved with that, knew some of the organisers for the protesters, but at the same time he also spoke to some of the riot police that were involved there, and he found that actually there was common ground, because the police really were just doing their job. They were locals, didn't necessarily want the train line in as well, and so he wanted Riot to be born, a game where you could experience both sides of the coin, and actually when you look deep enough, generally everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet and believes in the same thing. It's the powers above that are controlling everything. So that's, I think, the message that Leonard wants to get across to everybody.
Okay, so Riot at its core is what kind of game would you describe it as?
Well, it's a real-time strategy game at its heart. It uses pixel art, which is kind of 16-bit. You can see how people are made up of small pixels, but it works well for this kind of game. You play, as I mentioned, as both the rioters and the police, with given objectives to solve and sort out. You have to play as both, so you get both sides of the picture. The guts of the game is a campaign mode. And so we take you through 4 historical riots, NOTAV in Italy being one. We take you to Karatea in Greece, Tahrir Square in Egypt for the Arab Spring uprisings, and finally we take you to the Indignados rallies in Spain, and in particular Barcelona. So as you complete your objectives, you will unlock bonus levels as well. So we've also got other levels in there. Ukraine, for instance, is there. We have the uprisings and the protests in front of the Greek Parliament building that we had earlier in this year. Oakland, a number of historic events. So they're all in there. We then also provide a skirmish mode where players, once they've completed levels, can go back and set their own parameters and play. And most importantly and most excitingly for me, I think, is there's a level editor which allows players to go in, create their own riots. We're here at EGX at the NEC. So if you wanted to create a riot outside the NEC, you paint the backdrop, put in the street furniture, cars, whatever you want to put in the foreground, put in the rioters and the police, and you can have a riot outside EGX if you so wish.
I think there might be from the sound of it in the background there. It is very noisy. Okay then, so you mentioned you have to play as the rioters and the police.
Yeah.
How do the objectives differ between the two sides?
Well, the police are just really trying to keep a lid on the situation, trying not to antagonise the the rioters too much. Their best method is a softly approach, trying to push the rioters back and out of the picture, trying to evacuate an area is generally sort of one of the police's main roles. They can do this heavy-handedly, so there is baton charges, there's tear gas, and if you want to use that, you can. There are levels where water cannons are available. If you do go down that route, on subsequent levels, the rioters you antagonise them, they're angry, and it becomes harder. For their part, the rioters really, they want to be heard. They've got a voice. Many of in the crowd really are kind of like sheep. They're there just to shout and holler and not necessarily cause trouble. we've modelled the Riot sort of hierarchy, so there'll always be at least one leader. He will be sort of giving orders and objectives out to his lieutenants, who then incite the crowd and get the crowd, like sheep, to sort of follow the orders. So one way the police can win is to spot either the lieutenants or, best case scenario, the leaders, and send in snatch squads and remove them. So there's a number of ways to play the game. Certainly to get you through the campaign levels, the police take it easy. On later levels that you either design yourself or you go back and play skirmish mode, hey, do what you like best. And most people like to run and charge and throw Molotov cocktails at one another and that sort of thing.
What have been the biggest challenges in design and development for a game like this?
Initially, the loss of the original team was a big challenge. The guys that were originally writing with Leonard, that team dissolved, leaving Leonard on his own. We've got a good nucleus now. Marco, the coder, he had his own problems. He broke his wrist at one stage, so he coded through the pain barrier just using his fingers. That's been a challenge. The actual game itself, there can be up to 800 rioters on screen, and each of them have got an algorithm to sort of work out what they're doing, where they're going. So that's all number crunching in the background. So Marco has worked wonders, I think, in getting them all to be individuals. They look different, they act different. So that was a challenge as well. The AI, that's been tough. Still tweaking all of that good stuff. I think they'll be finished around January time. So fingers crossed, be coming to a screen near you soon.
So yeah, this is the first time that Riot's been playable outside of your office, isn't it?
Yeah. We get builds on a regular basis, and every time we get it, I get the new build, I always look, and up until about a month ago, I'm always kind of like, oh, well, what's happening? Because everything they're doing is under the bonnet and you can't sort of really see at first hand. And then around a month, 2 weeks, a month and 2 weeks ago, we got a build, and suddenly I went on to the Ukraine. It was in Independence Square in the Ukraine. I'd not seen that before, so that was exciting. But it was absolutely rammed with rioters. Previously, I might have seen 50 rioters maximum. And now all of a sudden, 800, 900 rioters and one or two policemen looking scared. So, that was fantastic. And as soon as that happened and you saw the rioters running at people, and it suddenly got a life of its own, and there was an excitement. And when you're sort of publishing games, there becomes a point where you get that wow moment. And for me, that was it. To see the rioters absolutely sort of running and causing mayhem, that was it. So hopefully everybody else will get the same sort of feeling when they play the game.
Fantastic. So if people want to get more information about Riot, Civil Unrest, where can they go, and what social media do you have? Right,
well, we've got our own stuff with Merge Games, Facebook and Twitter, and that's fine. I would recommend Leonard has his own Twitter feed. Certainly follow Leonard, because he will give his own sort of take and point of view on the game, and he replies to, if you want to ask him a question, tweet away. The game itself has its own website that Leonard curates, but I would recommend people get onto Steam. Every PC game has got a Steam account. Get onto Steam, search for Riot Civil Unrest. There's a coming soon page where it tells you sort of the nuts and bolts what the game's about. But equally, if you follow the community hub, there's lots of great stuff going on there. We're ramping up sort of the content that we're going to put on there. Email us or through the blog, through the community hub. Get in touch. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you're looking forward to. Share your artwork with people, and just get involved.
Excellent, fantastic. So, will you go Steam Early Access, or are you just going to wait for V1? And when will the release date and platforms be?
We considered Early Access, but the way the game has been, and I mentioned that wow moment, that's only recently happened. We want to make sure the game is right and everybody who plays it has a great playing experience. The feel needs to be just so. So we don't want to be tinkering after the event. We're looking to be feature complete with all the AI sorted out and ready in December. Not the best time of year to release December and Christmas. There's various holidays that get in the way, and other heavy hitting titles are out there. So once sort of the dust has settled after the holidays, into the new year, January, that's when we'll release.
Okay, fantastic. And it's just PC, or will you do other platforms in the future?
Initially, it'll be PC and it'll be Mac and Linux, and then we're investigating other platforms at the moment. Don't rule anything out. I'm sure it'll come to a platform that suits everybody soon.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, and look forward to playing Riot later.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Excellent.